Friends, today we understand the Chinese 5G and the Chinese 5G death trap. So in this lecture, completely understand what the Chinese 5G trap for the world. Complete understand, but first of all, शरणे भवतु सुखना सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्ति शमः कष्टदुःखभावहे. Now, we are here to define and discuss one of the most important point, and this is the Chinese 5G. This is also called the Chinese kiss of death trap. So the concept of 5G technology produced by the Chinese and the pioneered by the Huawei has to be seen in the larger strategy of Chinese four heaven. And what the four heaven? Four heaven is very important and critical for the Indian perspective and all other. That this is basically what the Chinese 5G. So what the Chinese 5G, as before some time you always listen, this is a topmost news. Okay, this point the Chinese 5G word is always on the top of the some of the prominent newspapers and the printing media and the multimedia. Because why? Because this Chinese 5G is seen by many of the well technologist giant company even understand this 5G is basically a Chinese trap. So what the four plan of the 5G? Okay, four plan of the Chinese have the four trap. And the first trap is the BRI, Belt and Road Initiative of China is first one trap. The second trap is the digital Silk Route of China. In past and the glorious history of Chinese, you seen that at that time there was a Silk Route of China, but now today in this modern time Chinese completely convert it to the digital Silk Route. So from the past it take the word the Silk Route and now it become the digital Silk Route. But how the data manipulated and how the data used to drag the informations all from the across the globe and use as per their want and the choice. So this is important to understand. And the third point here, the third trap basically is here, made in China 2025. It is also seen by many of the analysts and the word and the many of the word diplomats like it use like the Chinese made in China is also a trap. The second point is the fourth. So I already discussed that Chinese has the fourth trap. Okay, so the fourth number trap is Chinese Standard 2035. What is this Chinese Standards 2035? As you always understand and listen this word, the Chinese product have no viability, have no importances. And the second point, if importance is persistent, then there is no power of that product to sustain for a longer period of time. Means no warranty product is always supplied by the Chinese. So here this point is important. The Chinese Standard 2035 is a fourth number trap. Now the 5G of the Chinese are the mother lobe and coupled with the AI, which give a Chinese access to the global data. And global data, as you always consider that the multinational companies, okay, even from the big giant company from the Western world, okay, they came to, then they are the privacy and priority, even they are the democratic nations, even they are the very transparent, their government is working, okay, even at that point of time some of the data manipulations accusations was going on that company. But if think first think that point, if this data if the 5G technology goes to China and the Chinese peoples manipulate the data, then which level they can drag out all the informations, even from your bank account to everything, okay, is through this 5G technology. So even you listen from the many times before, like the dongle, whatever we using the Huawei dongle. So basically this dongle, basically when you connect with the internet, then at the same time they take your data from your computer and send to the Chinese data server. So it is also important to understand, because these types of objections and these types of accusations is too much high and complicated, because lots of useful informations, your private information is also transferring from the India from the across the globe to the China. So Chinese people must have to understand also this point, that this is not a fair strategy of the use of the technology. So here the data will be used 2025, and to create a product of the Chinese will manufacture under the Made in China 2025 and standardize under the Chinese standard 2035 for the global label dumping Make in China center on the earth in the 2049. So basically these were all things is going for the preparations of the 2050 or the 2049 is important to understand, because this is not a common point. But what the 5G and enable the trunk for the infrastructure cake, and which has based the BRI digital Silk Route made in China and at the top. So the icing has made the Chinese 2025 and the Chinese standard 2035. Thus, if Chinese progress with 5G, then it will be strengthening the cake and make China stronger. This is the conclusion of the behalf of this all lecture. But what if the 5G is registered by the world, then it will put end the economic, the strategic and the dominance of the Chinese at the global level, and cause the internal strip for the disintegration of the Chinese state, because it will depend the social contract of the better life for the Chinese people. So if the better life is not provided to the Chinese people, then when the peoples have too much money, friends, then they always think to fly in the air. But what at this point, if the Chinese peoples the money is going too high, and if they have not the certain level of aspirations is not fulfilled, their demand and experience and the expectations of their life, then the several Chinese state fragmented. Okay, and it is also the second conclusions of art lecture, because in this point and scenario we must have to understand, just it is every actions have equal and opposite reactions. You listen this word from the physics. Okay, so this is important to understand. If the money will rise, certain economy of the China, as you've seen, from gradually going to high, but what it also increase the expectations of the peoples and their citizens. So if the expectations of the peoples and the citizens increase, then at the same time what it happens, the Chinese peoples also demand and drag some more and more facilities across the world. As always, you listen one things, that American peoples, okay, consume so much goods as the rest of world never to produce it. So this is the point to understand, because but for Indian perspective, it is also important that if this 5G, Chinese 5G is going to at a certain high, then it is very drastic impact on the and harmful impact on the Indian foreign policies and Indian security and safety, because 5G can be used for the not only the data manipulations but the cyber attacks also. So for India it is also important, but the multinational company even in this India, in our India, okay, denied to and very slightly give indications that we cannot survive with the Chinese 5G, but it is not been at all, okay, because we must have to give a priority to our nation. So I hope now this point, this is the Chinese 5G kiss of death point strategy. So this 5G Chinese 5G case of death strategy is disclosed in front of you. So I hope and take care and see you soon later.